Okay, I'm working on Bennett today, and his father has passed away around 10 years ago, and I did a tattoo for him, very memorable tattoo, on his rib cage of a reaper with a maiden with an hourglass. This was his commemoration of having literally cheated death. He survived cancer, radical surgery to excise the affected tissue, and this was his victory statement. Now his son, 10 or so years later, has come for a tattoo. I didn't want to disappoint him, so I did a nice piece that you're about to see. Okay, my client wanted an owl tattoo on his leg, and he gave me some artistic license to come up with something interesting. So I wasn't sure if he'd be up for the skull or not, but he was. So fortunately, he came up with a cool design along those lines. You know, there's my stencil. We got a good transfer with the stencil, and I'm going to start into the outline here any moment. Okay, I'm going to start in with some of the outline. Out of courtesy, I'll usually pick out some short strokes to get the client acclimated. So how about some of these feather strokes down here?
And it seemed like there was some block-to-block issues. Like some blocks were good, some blocks not so good. I guess that not unlike a lot of places.
The skin is taking ink really well.
Portland's kind of small, kind of tight.
You never know what kind of skin you're dealing with when you start into a tattoo, so it's always nice when you start in and figure out that you've got good skin. And in the lining stage here, I'm going to use the liner to put some of these feather textures in. Ordinarily, I'll shade, you know, half of the feather like that to give it a little beveled look.
I'm like, okay. So on Friday morning, all I know is it's me and Heidegger and Peretti. I think Joe Mandy's in. We'll see. But I'll get out there and be part of the action.
So far, we're getting pretty good results.
For Union Strong stuff, for the points that are being negotiated, or the points that
in this case, I've got the inside half of the feathers shaded darker, which would be the left half of these feathers and the right half of the other feathers. So a little bit of detail in the chin. This one has one of those chins with the dimple, sort of like Jesse Ventura. What other celebrities have that dimpled chin? Henry Rollins, maybe. Kirk Douglas. Cleft chin, I think that's what it's called.
Here's your spoiler alert about my episodes of the Horror of Dolores Roach. So if you want to,
so rather than do a continuous outline video, I will stop and restart at various stages of the piece. Okay, I've got the outline laid in, and I'm starting into some of the shading. So usually my first step is to shade around things. So in this case, I'm laying shading in around these feathers around the outside edge. And the skull itself, to offset that from the feathers around the edge. And after I've shaded around everything to create layers, I will start shading inside things.
I thought they had sort of a show, no? Yeah, but no, they might have done a little bit more of like little kind of sketches. But it was all to service the clips, the 3 promotional clips. Yeah. So it was driven by,
I'm usually working with brighter light for the sake of this taping, I am using a little bit less light because I get a severe glare. But in a moment when I turn the camera off, I'm going to turn brighter lights on and things will be more back to normal for me, but less normal for the sake of the taping. So as I mentioned before, I'm shading the inner halves of these feathers a little more heavily to create kind of a bevel. Tail feathers for the owl in this one sort of join at the bottom here. There's this middle piece that I'm going to treat as like a feather up the middle, sort of shade it from the center out.
Give him a rubber band and he can do 6 minutes. Yeah, that's right. Sure. Yeah. And that was the audience of one talk show.
And proceeding from here, I'm using a smaller shader right now, 5 Magnum, and I've got a 7 Magnum set up to do some of the broader shading. This is for doing some of the details, especially in the woven parts of the tattoo up there. Okay, my client's starting to suffer a little bit, but we've got the black shading done, so let's get a little closer perspective on it. We've got some gray wash to lay in, and that'll just smooth everything out. But I don't take this for granted. I do appreciate the willingness to suffer for my art, and he's getting a better tattoo for it overall.
Beautiful piece, love it.
Okay, we're coming to a close on this tattoo, and it's a good thing because the client is cooked. So it's got a couple more areas of gray wash I need to fine tune. Where were those? Client is at the stage where every time I touch them, they're
Yeah. It's not funny.
So I do appreciate you being willing to suffer for my art.
Oh, you know, if you could give me some words of encouragement, tell me how beautiful I am, it might help a little bit here.
Tattoo's beautiful.
Oh yeah, thanks, buddy. Oh yeah. Oh, it's sweet, definitely sweet. But God, am I in pain right now. So, but about. I've never tattooed anyone. I've only been tattooed, and it fucking hurts.
Uh-huh.
They all and re-examined because they were really significant and gifted artists and mistake to try to because of the interpretations that they never intended.
It's not that bad. The first little bit isn't bad, it's the ending that sucks.
Yeah, you did really well for the first couple hours. And the nitpicking is truly the worst part. This is where I'm nitpicking at stuff that only I would notice. So it's a little self-indulgent, and I always feel guilty for it. But
I kind of fucking planned on here. I'm leaving Monday, so I was gonna stop by before I left.
All right, here I'm gonna get a little bit better perspective on here.
So I gotta run home, and then I'm gonna grab that little flash drive for you, or the storage device, and actually have games on your system.
Oh wow.
And then
all right.
yeah. And then but I'm probably about to head over that way here in a little while. I've already planned on shooting out around this today, so.
And I really don't think any of the performers that good.